Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a lesser-known but incredibly pivotal period of Cambodian history, the chaotic civil war that erupted after the death of the legendary King Jayavarman II. We all know Jayavarman II as the founder of the Khmer Empire, the man who unified a patchwork of states in 802 CE and declared himself the Devaraja, or God King. He was a monumental figure who laid the very foundation of Angkor. But what happens when a leader of that magnitude passes away without a clear, undisputed plan for who comes next? The answer, as history often shows us, is chaos. When Jayavarman II died, he left behind a massive power vacuum. He had spent his reign consolidating territories and establishing his divine authority, but the mechanism for transferring that authority wasn't set in stone. Suddenly, the unity he had forged began to fracture. Ambitious regional rulers, powerful families, and influential priests saw an opportunity to claim the throne for themselves. The newly born empire was immediately thrown into a period of intense political instability. Instead of a single unified kingdom, Cambodia quickly fragmented into several rival centers of power. Think of it like a Game of Thrones scenario, but set in the tropical heart of Southeast Asia. At least 3 major power bases emerged, each with its own claimant to the throne and its own regional support. First, there was Indrapura, located in the east. This region had been a significant political center even before Jayavarman II's rise, and its leaders were not about to simply bow down to a new, unproven king. Then, there was Hariharalaya, near modern-day Roluos, which Jayavarman II himself had established as one of his capitals. This location held immense symbolic power, and whoever controlled it had a strong claim to being his rightful successor. And perhaps most fascinatingly, there was Sambhupura, a city on the Great Mekong River. This area was distinct because it was often ruled by a powerful line of queens, matriarchal leaders who held significant influence and were not going to be sidelined in the struggle for control. These 3 factions, and likely several smaller ones, began a fierce competition to dominate the fledgling Khmer state. This period of turmoil is reflected in the royal chronicles, which list a series of kings with very short or contested reigns. Following Jayavarman II was his son, Jayavarman III. While his succession seems to have been relatively smooth at first, his reign was not marked by the same grand achievements as his father's. Ancient inscriptions tell us he was a great elephant hunter, but in terms of political consolidation, he seems to have struggled to maintain the unity his father had built. After Jayavarman III, the situation gets even murkier. We see names like Rudravarman and other kings, who appear in inscriptions but seem to have ruled for very short periods. The evidence suggests that these rulers were often overthrown or killed by rival factions. The throne became a revolving door of claimants, each backed by their own military and political cliques. It wasn't a peaceful transfer of power. It was a brutal contest where only the strongest, or the most cunning, could hope to survive. Now, it's important to understand that this wasn't a civil war in the modern sense, with massive armies of common people marching across the country. This was primarily a conflict among the elites. The main players were the regional aristocrats, the powerful priestly families who controlled the state's religious rites, and the various branches of the royal lineage itself. In the Khmer Empire, religion and politics were inseparable. Temples weren't just places of worship, they were economic engines, administrative centers, and symbols of political legitimacy. A king's authority was derived from his connection to the gods, a connection that was validated and maintained by the Brahmin priests. So, when Shaktishali families vied for the throne, they were also competing for the loyalty of these priestly groups. Controlling the state temples and the religious rituals meant you controlled the narrative of who was the legitimate God King. This elite-level struggle was fought through alliances, assassinations, and limited military campaigns aimed at seizing control of strategic and religious centers. Out of this crucible of conflict, a new, formidable leader eventually emerged. Yasovarman I, who came to the throne around 889 CE. Yasovarman was a brilliant strategist and a ruthless military commander. He was a descendant of a noble family from Indrapura, one of the main rival power centers. Through a series of brilliant campaigns, he systematically defeated all the other claimants to the throne, He didn't just win, he crushed the opposition, reunifying the kingdom under his sole authority. But Yasovarman knew that military victory alone wasn't enough. To prevent the empire from fracturing again, he needed to create a new, undeniable center of power. And this is where he made his most game-changing move. He decided to move the capital. He abandoned Hariharalaya and founded a new, grander capital city, which he named Indrapura. This city, centered on the natural hill of Phnom Bakheng, was the very first city at Angkor. By building his own capital, complete with a massive state temple and a complex irrigation system, Yasovarman was making a bold statement. He was severing ties with the old, contested power bases and establishing himself as the singular, undisputed source of authority. This move to Angkor was a masterstroke of political genius, centralizing power in a way that had never been done before. His consolidation of the empire truly marked the beginning of the Angkorian Golden Era, the period that would give us the magnificent temples we marvel at today. So, why is this chaotic, post-Jayavarman II period so important? Because it was the fire that forged the Angkorian Empire. This civil conflict, as brutal as it was, had profound and lasting consequences. First, it forced the Khmer rulers to develop a more robust administrative structure. The old system of loose allegiances was proven to be too fragile. Yasovarman and his successors created a more centralized bureaucracy to manage the kingdom and keep regional lords in check. Second, it cemented the principle of a single, all-powerful king. The chaos of having multiple claimants sealed the kingdom apart. The stability brought by Yasovarman proved that unity under one Devaraja was the only way to ensure peace and prosperity. Finally, this period shaped the unique political and religious system of Angkor. The king's role as the earthly connection to the divine became even more central, and the state temple became the heart of the empire's identity. It was this highly centralized, divinely sanctioned system of rule that allowed Angkor to mobilize the immense resources needed to build wonders like Angkor Wat and to become the dominant superpower of Southeast Asia for centuries. The Civil War was the empire's first great test. It was a period of crisis, but by surviving it, the Khmer Empire emerged stronger, more unified, and ready to embark on its golden age. The chaos gave birth to order, and the conflict paved the way for consolidation. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this deep dive into Khmer history interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories from the past. Let me know in the comments what other historical events you'd like to see covered. See you next time.